Hello, I'm Kevin Mylan, the DA Member of Parliament and the constituency head for the Frontier constituency. Today we're going to take a look at Makana municipality, a municipality which has been in the news a lot lately for all the wrong reasons. With me today are Councillor Cary Clark, a public representative in Makana and a ward candidate in the upcoming local government elections, as well as Natasha Mazzone, our DA Chief Whip in Parliament. Welcome, ladies. Cary, let's start with you. There's been a slew of judgments against Makana municipality for its failure to deliver services. What do you identify as the primary cause of the municipality's problems?
Well, Kevin, I think that, there's a lack of competent leadership. People are not held accountable. I've seen it time and time again. People do things, they don't do things correctly, and they're just never held accountable, and there's no consequence management. So I think that the leadership at the beginning, at the start, at the top, is your primary cause. And then you've got staff that are not always competent, or they've got a poor work ethic. And coupled with the leadership issue that makes for a very poor environment, then I think that also there's poor planning. There's not enough planning, enough forward thinking. So I think for me that is also a major stumbling block. And then there's a lot of unionization and then political interference, which makes it difficult for those people that actually want to work in the municipality, makes it even more difficult.
Okay. Last year, Judge Stretch ordered that the municipality be dissolved. What was the DA's position?
We fully supported the dissolution of council. We've said so time and time again. We've commented publicly on it. We've commented in council on the fact that we support it. We've even gone so far as to put in a motion to dissolve council. But our MM took it upon himself to actually omit that from the agenda.
Wow. Wow. Natasha, lawfare plays a prominent part in the DA's arsenal. Why is it not always feasible to litigate on local issues?
Kevin, the fact of the matter is a lot of political decisions, the courts will say the particular municipality or the particular legal body or legislative body has to resolve their issues themselves. Now, all municipalities and all legislative bodies have a set of rules and a set of criteria within which they operate. So there are often mechanisms in those municipalities already, and sometimes the courts will turn around and say it's not up to the court to make the decision on behalf of the municipality has to sort it out themselves. So when you have incompetent officials who don't know what the laws are and they don't know what the rules of their own municipality are, it makes it very difficult for a judge to come in and externally say you are not giving effect to laws that are already in existence for this type of issue. And that's why in many cases the courts will simply refer it back to the municipality and say you have the mechanisms to solve the issues yourselves, so hurry up and sort these issues out. So once you have a municipality that understands the lawfare around their own municipality and the interactions that they can have within the municipality and their legislature, the courts will then step aside and say, right, now it's up to you as a province, as a legislature, as a municipality to solve those issues yourself.
And obviously litigation is a very costly process and the DA can't go to court on every single issue in every single municipality.
Well, absolutely. Lawfare is very expensive. We only use the best, we use senior counsel, because if we do go to court, we go to court with the idea of winning. No one wants to go to court with the idea of losing. So, of course, there has to be a point where there's only so much money that we can spend on lawfare. And also, the wheels of justice turn, but they turn very slowly. And that's because we have a backlog in the system. So sometimes it costs us more to go to court than to try and solve the issues ourselves on the ground. And that's why the 1st of November election is so important, because this time the people actually have the ability to decide on the government themselves who they want to see running the Makana municipality. And that way we leave the courts completely out of it and we put a competent government in place.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, local government elections, as you say, are coming up on the 1st of November. Cary, what would the DA do differently if we were in charge of Makana?
Well, Kevin, I think, there are so many things that have totally failed in Makana. So it's quite a massive list. But if I had to say, we'd have to start with maintaining. We'd have to put plans in place to maintain the infrastructure, across the board infrastructure, whether it be wastewater, whether it be roads, whether it be sewage, whether it be water, all the infrastructure, and budget for those. So that you don't find yourself in a position where all of a sudden everything's crumbling and you just don't have the finances to be able to do it. So that is a major thing, because water at the moment is one of our major concerns, besides the fact that we've got roads that are more potholes than surface. So roads, infrastructure is a major thing, because I think once those are done, people start to calm down and you can kind of breathe and things will go ahead. So that's the infrastructure. Then I think once you've got those kind of things right, obviously you then want to start attracting investment. You want people to look at this place and say, this is where I want to be. This is when I want to have a business. This is where I want to raise my kids. And this is the place that I want to be. So attract that investment, so that you can also then start resolving the unemployment problem. That also then has all the other negative effects that come with that, the crime and all the rest of it. Your street lights also forming part of your infrastructure. Then revenue collection. Our revenue collection is poor, very poor. We are underestimating on our electricity, on our water. We do not disconnect when people don't pay. There are very wealthy people there that just don't bother to pay. So we need to change that mindset. We need the education to go with it. And for people to be more involved. I think when they take ownership and when they see us as a team, when we can start working as a team in Makana, and the DA is part of that team, I think those are the kind of things that I would really, really push. Then the one area that is also incredibly lacking is communication. We do things, but we don't communicate them to our community. So we need a far more interactive municipality in Makana. We need the people on board. We need them to see where we're spending the money, how we're spending the money, and they need to be involved in that process. So I think that would then also be key for me, amongst a whole lot of other things. Thanks,
Kevin, I think what Cary is saying is so important, because you take voters and the people who lend you their vote on a journey with you. And I think that it's very important in these elections that those people who entrust their vote and lend the DA their vote must know that it is going to take us a while to get things up and running. We have to get that revenue in, we have to get the potholes fixed, we have to get the street lights going, and all of that will take us a little bit of time. So these things don't happen overnight. So that is something I certainly learned coming from Tshwane municipality, is that to fix a municipality like Makana, which is virtually destroyed, isn't going to happen overnight. It will take a little bit of time, but once you have the community buying on all of that, it's so much easier, because then you have the community feeling like they're part of a team, and part of a team that's working towards success, and not always having to worry about constant failure.
Now, Natasha, the DA has a track record it can be justifiably proud of in governance. What for you are some of the highlights of DA-run municipalities?
Well, I think, our theme this year is the DA gets things done. And the reason we say that is because we look at flagship municipalities that we have, somewhere like Midvale Municipality in Gauteng, somewhere like Cape Town. Now, Cape Town, for example, has gone very strongly for this going off the grid and becoming one of the municipalities in our country where we stop load shedding. And we've proved it. We have our Steenbras Dam, so while the rest of the country is in stage 2 load shedding, we're in stage 1. Many times we're able to stop load shedding because of what we're able to do. Stellenbosch municipality has an amazing mayor who simply went out and said, you can arrest me, but I'm going to have my street lights and I'm going to have the lights of my municipality stay on. And the same thing goes for a place like Tshwane. So interesting that Tshwane managed to get out of the red that the ANC had placed the municipality in. They went under what we now know is an illegal administration. And once they took the administration back of Tshwane, they had to spend 6 months getting the revenue back up to the stage where they could fill potholes and turn lights back on. So we have proved, yes, we are not perfect. There's more that we can always do, and we are always striving to be better. But it is undoubtable when you see the national audits that get done, where the DA governs, we simply govern better. And that's why we need people to understand. We need 50% plus one in these elections to make sure that the DA has the power while we are in government to make sure that we get the simple things like infrastructure right, to ensure that we have huge investment. Midvaal has places like Heineken, has places like Ferrero Rocher wanting to invest in these areas. Cape Town has got places like Amazon coming to invest because they know they have sustainability and they have people that they can trust and entrust their money to, because obviously investment costs money. And that is what we've proved with the DA. Where we run things, we look after your money.
Great. Cary, there's been a fair amount of criticism of the DA in Makana municipality. Do you think it's justified? And what for you are some of your achievements over the past 5 years as a party?
Well, Kevin, yes. Unfortunately, I have to say that I think that some of those criticisms are justified. The reason being, not because we don't do the work, because we attend our meetings, we fight in council, we go to portfolio meetings, we do oversight, we raise issues, but we don't do enough. And we don't do enough to communicate what we're doing. So where we are putting in motions, the ANC has never put in any motions. We've put in every motion in council over the past 5 years, and we've done a number of them, motions and questions. So we are doing the work, we are doing the oversight, we actually relay the complaints, we follow up, but we are not always on top of things when it comes to communication, and I think that is the area that we really need to look at, and we really need to be far more involved with community issues. So CPF meetings, any community meetings, you know, it doesn't matter what, but you need to be out there talking to the people, being part of the team.
So not just doing the work, but telling the people what you've done.
Exactly.
And feeding back.
Exactly. You know, in the past couple of months or whatever that I've been working on the ground and in a new ward as well. Everybody knows who I am in the ward that I live in, and I've been working in the last five years. But the areas that I've been working now, you know, I've put myself out there. I'm available at all hours of the day for all kinds of issues. It's not always just about council issues and you know, complaints and stuff like that. It's being part of that community. It's really networking and being part of that community, and people must feel comfortable to come to you. So I think, yes, that is where we need a lot of improvement. With regards to the wins that we've had, I can speak personally for my own wins that I've had. I've lived in Riebeek East now for 14 years. I was watching that we were going to be running out of water. We run on boreholes only. We don't have a dam or anything that we have water from. So I started pushing to get boreholes. Even before we knew we were in a drought, I knew that we were going to be in trouble. Our water treatment works was very old. It was held together by lorry straps. So I pushed for refurbishment of that water treatment works, which we now have. And the quality of our water has improved incredibly. It's actually now drinkable. So that was one of my wins. When I saw that we were headed for a drought and the boreholes were bound to start drying up, and the whole town, you know, is supported on these boreholes, I managed to start pushing SPDM, trying to get them to get funding for disaster borehole, funding for disasters, and I managed to get that done. We managed to put in 4 boreholes. It's been a bit tricky because of the municipality being a little bit incompetent, well, quite a bit incompetent. They managed to put a borehole onto land that didn't belong to them, and when it came time, everything was done, the infrastructure was in, but when it came time to actually connect it to Eskom, Eskom said we need a way leave. And that's when they found out the land was not theirs. So we're still waiting for that, but it's coming. I've managed to get a satellite fire station put into Rubik, so that is another win. And I think that we have reported, we went and laid a charge with regards to the Kabusa report. So we've laid charges. I've been involved in gas bottles, a small thing, but it was 48 kg gas bottles that went missing. And as a result of oversight, I'm going to look where they are. We weren't able to find them, so there was a case opened. So it's that kind of oversight, that constant watching what's going on the ground, that leads to, you know, sort of these kind of wins.
And Kev, the great thing about COVID, and it's the only good thing about COVID, is that we've learned how to communicate in very interesting manners. We can have a talk like we're having today, which we can release to thousands of residents in the Makana area. So the way we communicate through COVID has taught us to be inventive in the way we communicate. And I think Cary is so right, because so many things they've done and they've got right and they've put in these questions, but the community doesn't know, because we can't have big town hall meetings and it's not safe to have big town hall meetings. But now we've got the use of Zooms and we can do interactive webinars, and I think that is certainly a way that Makana can make their message heard, and certainly the successes of their council be known to the general public.
Absolutely. So, Cary, you've just spoken a fair bit about water, and it's obviously a major issue in Makana. In a drought-stricken province and a water-scarce country, do you think that there's more that can be done to address the chronic water situation in the municipality?
There's always more that can be done. Firstly, our infrastructure, as I've alluded to earlier. We have got major problems. We've got leaks everywhere you look. I am reporting them daily. So infrastructure maintenance and budgeting for infrastructure, and education. Educating people on how to save water, how to use it sparingly, how to recycle it. So I think that, the education. I think something that I've been passionate about is putting rainwater harvesting systems in place, especially for RDP houses and new built houses. And then possibly having some sort of incentive to incentivize people to do it. So really, I think there should be a bylaw that should speak to that. I have put it on the agenda, I've put it on the IDP, I've tried to get JoJo's into the locations. I have done garden competitions where I've managed to put in 15 water tanks into 2 poor communities as a result of it. So I'm passionate about that. I think also for the long term, we need to be in contact and looking at how we can mitigate issues of drought for the future, so that we don't get caught on a back foot, because I think that that's what happened. We saw it coming and nobody did any planning. There was no planning in place for this, and I think that better planning could actually help us get through these kind of things a lot easier. But yeah, that's about it.
And obviously the DA has got a track record in this regard. We successfully avoided day 0 in Cape Town. So there's learnings there that we could bring to Makana. So this election has seen a large number of smaller parties and independents emerge. Natasha, in your experience, why should voters choose the DA instead of these smaller parties?
Kevin, look, we have to just be honest. Democracy is an interesting political beast in its makeup, and we have been in a system where democracy is quite new to us, and we are still a very immature democracy. And coalitions work in older democracies that are used to democracy and haven't had the dreadful past that South Africa has had. But what happens is, when you vote for an individual, or you vote for a party that will have one member that comes to council, you are breaking up the power that it will require to take a firm and a hard stance on an issue. And here I use the city of Tshwane as the perfect example. Tshwane went into a coalition that we knew was going to be incredibly difficult, and in the middle of our success story, we got taken into administration, because that's what other parties do. Especially, I mean, I'm very proud to say that the DA puts the people of South Africa first, But we know very well that parties like the ANC and the EFF put themselves first. And this is where the problem comes in. If you aren't given 50% plus one, you are dependent on one-man parties or one-man individuals that can literally be the kingmakers in your municipality. And if they're having a bad day, or if they get an offer from another party that they can't refuse, you could land up with a dissolved or a hung municipality. So what we're saying to people is, we are not in a mature democracy where coalitions are easy to run and easy to maintain. And that's why I strongly urge people, exercise your democratic vote, but think very carefully about it. South Africa works on a PR system. So in this election, you'll get two ballot papers. You'll get one that is your party vote and one that is the vote for your ward councillor. If you don't vote DA on both of those ballot papers, we are going to lose the ability to have 50% plus one, which will take us over that edge and will push us into that point of being the actual government that can put all our plans in place. And the DA has got wonderful plans that we have in place to look after municipalities such as Makana and turn towns like Grahamstown back into these beacons of hope and these beautiful cities that they once were. But when you break up that kind of governance, then you start getting into trouble, because you have one or two man parties that then will lend their vote to other parties that could ruin an entire system. And that is exactly what we don't need. And that's why this election is so critically important. South Africa has passed the precipice. We have gone over the cliff. And you now have to think of the DA as being the parachute. The DA is the parachute that is going to launch, that gives us a soft landing. If the DA doesn't come through strongly in this election, we are not going to have a soft landing. We are going to have a crash landing, which could see many places, such as Makana, simply reach the end of their tether and be in absolute destruction.
Well, that's about all we have time for today. Any last words for the electorate, Cary?
Yes, I think like Tasha said, we've got one go. We've got one chance. We need a 5-year chance to turn things around. Please consider your vote. We've got the track record, we've got the experience, and we've got access to all the experience and all the knowledge and history behind us. When you split the vote, you have to ask yourself, what are these people offering besides what they've got on paper? We've got it, it's all there for you to see. Please consider this one time, at the very least, giving us a 5-year chance, and we can take it and show you we can turn things around.
Natasha, your last words?
The DA gets things done, and that is indisputable. So we never ask you to give us your vote. We ask you to lend us your vote. For 5 years, let us show you what we can do. Let us turn Makana around. And in 5 years' time, if we haven't done what we've promised, then you vote us out of power again.
Thank you, Cary, Natasha, for participating today, and thanks to all of you for watching. Remember to go out and vote on the 1st of November, and to encourage your family and friends to vote as well. Thanks again, and vote DA.